prison isn't made of walls, it's built of thoughts. Most people walk freely, but they are caged, not by chains, not by bars, but by beliefs. Conditioned to think like employees, trained to obey instead of build, taught that playing safe is success, when in truth it's surrender. They don't own their lives own them. But wealth, true wealth, begins in the mind, and freedom is a result of how you think. You see, the wealthy don't just have more money, they operate on an entirely different operating system. While most ask, can I afford it? The wealthy ask, how can I afford it? While most chase income, the wealthy build assets. While most fear failure, the wealthy leverage it. It's not about privilege, it's about perspective. It's not the zeros in the bank, it's the code running in your brain. Robert Kiyosaki said it clearly, the poor work for money. The rich make money work for them. But that requires a dangerous, daring kind of thought. One that rebels against tradition and burns the rule book handed down by the system. Because if you think like everyone else, you live like everyone else. Stuck, afraid, tired. You wake up in a house you don't own, drive a car that owns you, clock into a job you resent, and call it security. But it's not security, it's seduction. The comfort of being average has lulled the world into sleep, but somewhere in you, there is a whisper, a war cry buried beneath the noise. It says, you were not born for survival, you were born for sovereignty. The first shift happens in mindset. Mindset is the soil. Every result is just the fruit of the root below. If your mind is wired for lack, no strategy will save you. If your belief is wired for limits, no opportunity can lift you. Think of Edison. Before the light bulb changed the world, he failed over 10,000 times. But he never called them failures. He called them feedback. Why? Because his mind wasn't programmed for defeat. It was programmed for discovery. And what about Walt Disney? He was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination. Banks rejected him hundreds of times. But his vision wasn't a job. It was a calling. And belief was his fuel. You see, wealth isn't what you have, it's how you think. And thinking isn't just reacting, it's creating. Creating a new internal reality before the external one ever shows up. So ask yourself, what do I believe about wealth? Is money evil? Or is it a tool? Is success selfish? Or is it service at scale? Am I meant to follow? Or am I built to lead? You can't out-earn a poor mindset. You can't grow if you fear risk more than regret. And you cannot build freedom on the foundation of fear. The wealthy understand this. They invest when others consume. They learn while others entertain. They build when others beg. They walk toward discomfort, not away from it. Because discipline is the doorway to dominance. Clarity comes next. Without clarity, you are powerful, but aimless. And power without direction is just chaos. You need to know what you want, not what your parents wanted, not what school told you to want, not what Instagram shows you every morning. What you want. Clarity is saying, this is my mountain. I don't care who laughs. I don't care how long it takes. I don't need approval. I need progress. Look at Henry Ford. He didn't invent the car. He didn't invent the engine. He simply had clarity. I will build a car affordable enough for every family. And that vision, that single, stubborn clarity, changed the world. You don't need millions to begin. You need a mission and a mind that refuses to quit. Vision is the next weapon. The wealthy don't see the world for what it is. They see it for what it could be. Average people see walls. Visionaries see doors. Where others see recession, the wealthy see reinvention. Carnegie walked into the steel industry when it was chaos. Jobs were unstable. Markets were unpredictable. But he didn't see a mess. He saw an empire in the making. That's what vision does. It doesn't deny the storm. It just refuses to surrender to it. And that's why purpose matters. Because money fades, houses rot, fame dies. But purpose, that's eternal. You're not here just to collect a paycheck. You're here to collect impact, to use your mind as a weapon, to solve problems, to raise standards, to awaken others simply by awakening yourself. Purpose is what kept Lincoln fighting through failure after failure. losing election after election, until one day he became the president that held a nation together through war. Purpose isn't a feeling, it's a fire. It will either burn inside you, or it will burn you alive wondering what could have been. But a purpose without discipline is just a fantasy. Discipline is the bridge between your desires and your destiny. It's waking up before the world, showing up when no one's watching, and doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. That's the difference between the wealthy and the wishful. The wishful wait to feel ready. The wealthy train themselves to move regardless. When Kobe Bryant was asked why he trained at 4 a.m., he said, "Because while they sleep, I separate." That's not motivation. That's discipline baptized in obsession. Discipline turns habits into weapons. It hardens your mind, sharpens your spirit, and makes you unshakable when others crumble. You won't always be the smartest. You won't always be the fastest. But if you outlast, you outwin. But all the discipline in the world is meaningless if it's not directed into action. Action is the great separator. It doesn't care how inspired you are. It only responds to what you do. The graveyard is filled with dreamers who never moved. Ideas that were never acted on. Visions that never made it past the mind. The wealthy understand one truth: speed beats perfection. They launch before they're ready. They build while they fly. They fail publicly and keep going. Because action is how they learn. And learning isn't about theory, it's about fire. Thomas Edison didn't plan the light bulb into existence. He battled for it, through smoke, sweat, and setbacks. Because doing creates clarity, and trying creates transformation. And when you take action again and again, not only do you create results, you start becoming someone else. Not who the world told you to be, but who you were born to become. And in the heat of that pursuit, never forget gratitude. Gratitude isn't passive. It's not just being thankful. It's active awareness, a warrior's recognition of what you have so you can build with it, not whine about what's missing. Gratitude sharpens the eye. It turns scarcity into resourcefulness. It lets you say, "I may not have everything, but I have enough to begin." Oprah once said, "If you look at what you have in life, you'll always have more. If you look at what you don't have, you'll never have enough." The wealthy don't worship money. They're grateful for the opportunity to use it, master it, direct it. Gratitude keeps them humble, and humility makes them relentless learners. Because learning is the oxygen of the wealthy. They read more. They listen more. They surround themselves with people who challenge their thinking, not coddle their comfort. Andrew Carnegie once said he owed his fortune not to what he knew, but to what he learned from men smarter than him. So he built a mastermind, a circle of minds greater than his own. That's the game. You don't need to know everything. You just need to be obsessed with learning something. Every single day. The poor are entertained, the rich are educated. That's not a judgment. It's a pattern. You become what you consume, and your mind becomes your environment. So if you want wealth, feed your brain like your life depends on it, because it does. But knowledge alone isn't enough. The market changes, technology evolves, old models collapse, and the only way to survive is to adapt. Adaptability is the trait of titans. It's why the wealthy stay wealthy. They don't fear change, they anticipate it. They pivot fast, think faster, and execute faster still. Blockbuster clung to comfort. Netflix embraced evolution. And history will always reward the one who adjusts. The moment you think you've made it, you've started to decay. Because comfort is the enemy of creation. Adaptability is staying humble enough to evolve, but powerful enough to keep building through uncertainty. And when the storms hit, and they will, resilience becomes your crown. Because not every day will go right. Deals fall through. People betray you. Mistakes get made. But the wealthy are resilient because they've trained for pain. They know that behind every breakdown is a breakthrough. Colonel Sanders was rejected over 1,000 times before someone said yes to his recipe. But he didn't fold, he kept knocking. That's resilience. That's wealth in its purest form. Because when you fall, and you will, the world isn't watching your failure, it's watching your response. And if you rise again, you become unstoppable. And when you rise again and again, you no longer walk like the person who started this journey. You walk like someone who has seen who they really are. You move with conviction, not confusion, with calm, not chaos. Because you've been through the fire and you didn't melt. You molded. You forged yourself into something this world rarely sees, a free mind with a wealthy soul. That's the real wealth. It's not in the bank. It's not in the car. It's not in the house, the brand, or the followers. It's in your ability to choose, to live unchained, to wake up and say, this is my path. I built it. I paid the price for it, and I'll walk it without apology. Freedom isn't found, it's earned. And wealth is not money. Wealth is time. Wealth is mobility. Wealth is control over your calendar, your energy, your destiny. To think like the wealthy is to build your life like a fortress, not to protect you from fear, but to protect your freedom from being stolen. To live like the free is not to escape hardship, but to become so powerful that hardship no longer dictates your path. Think like the wealthy, and you will never again think like the average. Live like the free, and no one will ever again tell you how big you're allowed to dream. Because now you know, you are not a victim. You are not a follower. You are not a statistic. You are the builder of your mind, the author of your belief, the sculptor of your soul, and the master of your freedom. Think like the wealthy, live like the free, and watch the world adjust to you.